So the hunt for one optimal diet for the human being has been going on for really almost a century, since the era of degenerative diseases, lifestyle diseases, chronic diseases, whatever you want to call it, started. Degenerative diseases that of course are influenced by diet and lifestyle factors, something that was evident even back in the early 20th century when these diseases started to set in. But does an optimal diet exist for the human being? What is an optimal diet? These are the questions we will look into and try to answer in today's video. So I suppose that an optimal diet is the diet that is optimal in helping a given person realize his physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual goals and to live a fulfilling life, right? So in this case, we all have goals, right? But we have different goals and there are different ways we wish to live our lives. So it can be hard to say that there is one diet that is optimal for every human being. That's why we see that our ancestors sought after the approximately same kinds of foods, right? With variety in what were available, what kind of species were available in their given location, but essentially it was the same nutrients that they sought after in those foods. It's because those nutrients were what was required to have optimal health as a human being, and those were the foods that were best and most easily digested by the human digestive system. So in today's video we will be diving into what the optimal diet for the human being looks like in a generalized manner across all human beings, not accounting for individual differences. And this will be a great starting point for you to enter the journey into individualizing your specific optimal diet. But first we must know what foods should we include and what foods should we avoid. And please let me know if you have any questions or comments entering this journey. Share them in the comments and I'll be happy to get back to you. As always, I'm Kaljo, the homecoming son. This is The Homecoming, the channel where I help you return home to the body, home to working with nature. In that way we make the body a benevolent organism, which it is, that works for our health and not merely a machine that we have to fight to maintain, which costs a lot of money and a lot of energy in the process. So maybe let's start by clarifying why there is no one diet that is optimal for all humans. So though we are all humans and we all share approximately the same digestive system, the same metabolism, we are also all highly individual. We all have a unique set of genes and these genes express themselves in our physiology. This is all very well studied and laid out in Roger Williams' pioneering book, Biochemical Individuality. Roger Williams, a world famous biochemist, found that the medicine dosages and the dosages of toxins and other drugs had widely differing effects on the clients that they were prescribed to. And so this sparked the curiosity in Roger Williams to figure out why the dosages of these drugs had such different effects in the patients that they were given to. What he found was that people were just as unique on the inside as they are on the outside, right? So that means that even the placement, the size, even the structure of our organs differ from person to person. And of course, the biochemical composition of our blood and bodily fluids, this all differ from person to person. So while one's liver might be up here, another's liver is down here. While one's liver might be very small, another one's liver is very big. Even things such as how many arteries goes out from our heart is different from person to person, and this all influence what kind of nutrients we need. I should rather say how much of certain nutrients we need. So while one person might have a great taste for salt and fatty foods, another person might have a bigger need for sweet foods. And this is the reason why Hippocrates stated, one man's medicine is another man's toxin, right? What works for one man might kill another man. So we have actually intuitively known this for a long time, or I should say empirically understood this to be true. But now finally modern science is validating this understanding. So this here really lays the foundation in my understanding of why human beings can't all just jump on one diet, why there is no one diet that will work for everybody. Now on top of that, of course, we all live very different lives, right? We have different goals, we have different passions that we want to pursue. One might want to spend a lot of time being physically active, while another person is more introverted and spends more time sitting down and reading. Now, nothing is wrong with either way of living. Nothing should be more healthy than the other. But this, of course, will play into how much of certain nutrients are needed. For example, how much protein is needed compared to carbohydrates. What does exist is a species appropriate diet, right? As I said in the start of this video, we are all human beings. We all share approximately the same digestive tract, the same metabolism. The thing is that humans have an incredible skill to adapt, right? This is why we have become the apex predator, because we are great at adapting to certain environments. That also means that we are great at adapting to new ways of eating, right? For example, in periods of famine, we have turned to eating kale and cabbage and a lot of these foods that people have been able to grow out in their garden. And this also means that people can live plus 50 years on a diet of fast food, hydrogenated oils, seed oils, processed crap. This blows my mind that people that have been eating McDonald's 3 times a day are still alive after just 10 years. Like, how can this happen? It can happen because we are so great at adapting to environmental changes, and that also includes the foods we are eating. Now, if we feed the body crap, or we live a life that doesn't give the body any notable energy, what it does is that it turns down its metabolic rate. Now, our health is determined by how much energy our body has to run its healthy processes, right? This has been understood by the Taoists, by the traditional Chinese medicine practitioners, by the Ayurvedic practitioners, prana, chi. We have it in all the ancient cultures that were dealing with human health. They always talked about energy. The body needs energy to perform its healthy biological functions and processes adequately. When you don't provide your body what it needs to have a high metabolic rate, having enough energy to run all of its healthy processes, what happens is that your body simply has to perform these tasks to run these processes on a lower rate. That means that you won't be as good as remembering stuff. For example, your cognitive health, your cognitive function will decline. You won't be as good at regenerating tissue, right? Toxins will build up because you don't have the energy to run your detoxification system. So we go into a survival mode. And now it's important to understand that the same can happen if you follow a diet that doesn't provide you with the nutrients that your body needs to have a high metabolism and to run its biological functions in a healthy manner. For example, a vegan diet, we know that we don't get a lot of healthy fatty acids that then your body have to metabolize, meaning that it has to create those fats, for example cholesterol, out of something like sugar. The same with vitamin B12, the same with a lot of amino acids. So many people might actually just be surviving on that diet and not truly thriving. To truly thrive, we must eat according to the body's needs so that we make sure that we have a high and well-functioning metabolism, meaning high energy to run all of the organic healthy processes within our body. But the problem is that we are really very confused in today's world, right? We drink neon-colored sugary drinks like Gatorade thinking that that's gonna rehydrate our body. We eat bitter leafy greens that doesn't even excite our system in the least. They don't smell good. They don't make our eyes go, wow, I wanna eat that. And we think that this is how we optimize our health. We are confused by science. We are confused by pop culture. We are confused by politicians and religion. We are just confused, and we need a framework that is truthful. And to find that, we must look into what the scientific findings around our physiology are, together with the understanding of what our ancestors knew to be truth. Look, our ancestors, what they did is what made us the apex predator of this planet. It's what made our bodies being able to withstand 50 years of a McDonald's diet, right? What they did worked. So when we look back at anthropological findings, the first thing I want to mention is that no vegan tribe ever survived evolution, right? What does that tell us? Does that say that meat makes us aggressive and want to kill other people? Well, human beings didn't survive by brute force, right? We survived by an intellect and a creative capacity to come up with strategies of survival through hard times. The great warlords, they didn't win on the battlefield by being bigger in numbers or stronger or having stronger soldiers. They won by making great strategies of how to win on that battlefield. Good hunters don't go out and try to kill their prey face to face. Good hunters don't try to run down a zebra, right? Good hunters invent projectiles, ways of hitting the animal from afar without having to run that animal down. Good hunters invent traps that is going to trap the stronger animal and maybe even trap more animal at a time so that they don't have to go out and hunting day after day after day, but can provide food for the whole tribe for weeks or even months. So vegan tribes were conquered by a greater intellect, a greater capacity to survive through struggling and difficult times in our evolution. And we now know why it is that the vegans didn't have this capacity, didn't have the brain power to think themselves out of difficult situations. Because animal foods contains many vital nutrients that are simply just not found in plant foods, like vitamin B12, choline, creatine, and a lot of other nutrients like these that are super important for our brain power and cognitive function. We also don't find any complete amino acid profile in any sort of plant, where in flesh foods we find complete amino acid profiles, and 9 of these amino acids we can't even manufacture within the body, so we depend on our diet to get these vital amino acids that are so important for correct tissue buildup, right? So many vegans just don't get these nutrients, and that creates many physiological issues. So as Sun Tzu would have said it, the vegans were conquered before even entering the war. This is also why human tribes treasured hunters, treasured the hunting act itself, and made great ceremonies when an animal were brought to the table. We just don't see the same excitement about the berries or the plants that were gathered. Look, I'm aware that we celebrated the harvest, right? But the harvest was celebrated because we had made sure up here in the cold countries that we had survival foods to survive through a cold winter. And now don't be fooled. What were these survival foods? Well, they were grains, root veggies, squashes, and pumpkins. And why? Well, because they have a high caloric density, meaning that they provide enough energy for us to have a high metabolic rate. And they had highly bioavailable nutrients when treated in the right way. That means making sourdough, fermentation out of grains, peeling the roots and the pumpkins and the squashes, and then cooking them for an adequate amount of time with an adequate amount of fat, so that all these plant nutrients becomes more easily digestible and we get rid of the defense chemicals found in these plants. Look, plants don't want to be eaten just like we don't want to be eaten, and therefore they create defense chemicals, and we need to take care of these defense chemicals before eating them. Else they are going to suppress our metabolism instead of elevating our metabolism. Now further, we have research by Bill von Hippel laid out in his book The Social Leap, where he shows how meat consumption played a crucial role in the development of our human brains and also in the development of our physiology from that of primates to human beings. He shows how our primates, forced out of the jungle due to a cataclysmic event, were forced out into the savannah, where in scarcity of fruit they were forced to think of new inventive ways of hunting what was available on the savannah. So hunting animals and eating animal foods had an astonishing effect on the development of our primates into human beings as we know us today. So to hunt these animals, they had to come up with creative strategies to trick these animals into traps or onto some kind of mountainside where they were trapped, and then they could throw stones at them or some other form of projectiles, right? So our primates were forced to communicate together in making strategies to hunt down prey and get food. They were also forced to come up with ways of making knives, making tools to cut off the meat of the bones. This has all been found in anthropological anthropological findings, and it's well laid out in The Social Leap by Bill von Hippel. And now finally, our primates, due to eating more meat and less of that fibrous plant stuff that they had been relying on in the jungle, they got rid of that bonobo gorilla belly, and having to spend less energy on digesting these fibrous plant foods, that energy went up into the brain to think out strategies for hunting prey and to invent ways of communicating with the group. So you see, relying on plant foods for extracting nutrients to build animal tissue is a very energy intense practice for the digestive system, right? That's why ruminants have 4 stomachs. That's why the gorilla and the bonobos are bloated as F. That's why cows spend all day grazing. That's why gorillas spend all day snacking, right? That's why carnivorous animals like lions and jaguars and what have we can eat once a week or even once a month and then survive on that nutrition that they got from that meal for long periods of time. The nutrients found in animal foods are highly bioavailable, they are highly nutrient dense, and that makes it a superior food for human beings as well. Now, it might sound like I'm saying that we should only eat meat or animal foods. That's not what I'm saying at all. There are other foods that are very beneficial and highly appreciative for the human beings, and we see that in our ancestry as well. But these foods, my dear friends, are not leafy greens. It's not the vegetables that we have been told should be so healthy by modern science. These foods are fruits, right? It's easily digestible carbs and it's highly nutrient dense foods, right? So fruits, that's also squashes and pumpkins, right? That's also fruits. Coconut is also a fruit. Then it is honey, and then it is milk, egg, flesh foods, organs, all the things you find in a nose to tail animal food diet. If you do want to introduce grains, because they do have a lot of energy packed into them, right? They have a big caloric content. Then it is important that you process them adequately. That means fermenting them. With rice, it means peeling off the outer layer, white rice. So the big takeaway from today is that you want to avoid plant defense chemicals found in vegetables, because these create havoc in your system, lowering your metabolic rate. You want to base your diet on highly bioavailable nutrients found in fruits, honey, and animal foods. And then if you do want to include survival foods such as grains, roots, and tubers, then you need to process them adequately. With roots and tubers, it means, of course, peeling them. Get that layer out where all the defense chemicals are that should protect the root against larvae and insects from the soil trying to penetrate it. It means cooking your roots, tubers, pumpkins, and squashes for an adequate amount of time, which breaks down the fibers, making the nutrients more bioavailable to you and leaving less fibrous matter for your microbiome to feed on and make endotoxin, something we haven't talked about today, but I can promise you a video will come out about that. And remember to always cook with adequate amounts of fat, because fat helps our body absorb the nutrients more efficiently. Relying on these foods will give you all the nutrients that you truly need to thrive. I can assure you that, and you get rid of all the antagonist nutrients that are suppressing your thyroid, suppressing your metabolic rate. There you go, you have it. That's your perfect starting point for creating your optimal diet. How you create your unique diet and keep fine-tuning it to become better and better and more suitable for your unique circumstances is something we will get into in next week's video. Alright, so if you want to stay tuned for that, then make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell so you get a notification when that video comes out, and then I'll see you in the next video, okay? Love and chi, you guys. Love and chi.